Geodeode, quickly becoming one of my favorites.
Yes, absolutely. Now we're talking about Sweden. Now, we've done some Sweden on here, done geography now, a few other
bits and pieces
of things. So
the
Walter's World is another one, but Geodeode, this guy is he's like the go-to now for stuff.
I like his stuff, and I think I like his stuff because we checked out the other stuff. It's like I'm a broken record. Every video we do of a country, every other video we do of a country just adds to our knowledge of the country. Gives us more 100%. Of a chance to absorb it correctly. So
100%. Ready?
Yep, let's do it, man.
3, 2, 1.
It lies in the heart of Scandinavia, a land of forests and lakes, farms and industry, and cities steeped in history, where once warriors and raiders exported their
little intro bit there, because it's such beautiful stuff that is in Sweden. That's why we put the links to the original video in the description, because we want to encourage you to support the original content as well, so that they can continue making the original stuff as well.
It's tough because it's like that's a massive part of Sweden is ABBA.
ABBA, yeah.
Oh man, it's tough. It's like, it's annoying. It's just an annoyance.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the guy's talking over part of it, so that part can go through. You've already seen it.
Yep.
Whatever. But Sweden, let's do it.
Of the North Germanic people of the same name, the Swedes, and occupies the central part of Scandinavia in northern Europe. Germanic tribes have been living in Scandinavia as far back as written sources go, with the first mention of the Swedes as a Suiones by the Roman historian Tacitus in 98 AD. The word for this country used by most languages in some variant or other, Sweden, is thought to come from the Proto-Norse Suiones, meaning one's own, referring to one's own Germanic tribe. But the Swedes themselves call their own country Sverige, a name first recorded as Sverige in the earliest of all English written works, Beowulf. It literally means realm of the Swedes. The most famous part of their history took place between the 8th and 11th centuries, the Viking Age, denoted by a fierce warrior culture that expanded across Europe through the development of the most advanced ships of that time. Whereas the Norwegian and Danish Vikings expanded west to terrorize Britain and France, the Swedes went east across the Baltic and along the main rivers of what is now Poland, European Russia, and Ukraine to the Black Sea, where they traded with the Byzantines. The Swedish Vikings were known as the Rus, and those that settled in the east founded dynasties, one of which was believed to have been the Kievan Rus, and the word Russia comes from this line.
Yeah, didn't we just check that out?
Yeah, I was like, Vikings, bro.
Yeah,
Vikings
everywhere.
That's why. Just the Kievan Rus, aka the beginning, the little seed, the sapling that became Mother Russia.
Yes, Vikings.
Because you don't think of Russia and Vikings in the same breath.
No. In Soviet Russia, Viking hurt you.
Yeah.
I'm going to take any opportunity I can to make a Soviet Russia joke. Y'all just going to have to deal with it.
Yep, you have to, man.
As to when Sweden finally became a united state, that is unclear from the records, but it is believed to be at the latest in the 10th century. The nation abandoned the old Norse gods in 1050, becoming officially Christian in that year. But the old gods still live on in our English days of the week, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday being named after Odin, Thor and Frigga. In the early 14th century, the Swedish and Norwegian crowns were united, and then joined to Denmark's at the end of that century in what became known as the Kalmar Union. For another century or so after that, all of Scandinavia was under one monarch. But Sweden rebelled in 1523 under Gustav I, who also resisted the influence of the Germanic states through the Hanseatic League that hitherto had dominated the Baltic. In so asserting Swedish political and economic independence, Gustav is regarded as the founder of the modern Swedish nation. With its new independence, Sweden then began to assert itself as the master of Scandinavia and the Baltic, adding many lands to its empire and reaching a zenith in the middle of the 17th century, third only to Russia and Spain in power in Europe at that time. But such military expansion came at a huge cost economically, and over the next century and a half, with other powers conniving to rein in the upstart nation, Sweden lost much territory, holding only to that core which forms their borders today. Perhaps so tired of 2 centuries of almost constant war, Sweden then changed policy and became neutral in every European conflict since the Napoleonic Wars. 1814 was the last time Sweden was at war, a record unbeaten in Europe, longer even than that of legendary neutral Switzerland, although many would argue that Swedish neutrality in both world wars was questionable, with help to Germany being provided each time, no doubt under the threat of invasion otherwise.
Wow, that's something I didn't even think about with Sweden, is that how Germany was helping them be neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So they were neutral, but at what cost?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess at the cost of them not being invaded, technically.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's a tough one. That's a rock and a hard place right there, dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Post-war Sweden has remained mostly neutral, refusing to join NATO, and only joining the European Union in 1995 after a close referendum. It did not join the euro and has so retained the krona as its own currency. That is not to say it is not active on the international scene. Indeed, Sweden has often acted as a peace broker in various international conflicts, leveraging its renowned status as a neutral power. Today, Sweden is a constitutional monarchy with the head of state being Carl Gustaf XVI, occupying only a ceremonial role with no political power. Real legislative power is in the single national 349-member parliament, the Riksdag, elected every 4 years through a system of proportional representation. While Sweden has no federal structure like the USA, Canada or Germany, local counties and municipalities are provided with considerable autonomy from the central government by Sweden's constitution, and in fact make up the majority of the public sector. For 100 years, the centre-left Social Democratic Party has been the most dominant voice in Swedish party politics, and this is no surprise as Sweden's extensive and widely known welfare state developed under this dominance. Coalitions are the norm, however, in a country that has between 5 and 8 active parties vying for control, with none getting an overall majority since the 1960s. If you don't count Russia, Sweden is the tallest country in Europe, spanning almost 14 degrees of latitude, from 55 to 69 degrees north, and as a result experiences 4 distinct climate zones. If you travelled the 2,000 kilometers by road from the southernmost to northernmost tips, it would take you over 20 hours.
Wow.
By comparison, the maximum east-west distance is only 600 kilometers and would take you just under 6.5 hours to travel. Sweden's total land area is just under 500,000 square kilometers, which ranks it 55th largest in the world. The highest and lowest points are 2,097 meters above and minus 2.4 meters below sea level. Most of its coastline is within the Baltic Sea, with the part facing Finland known as the Gulf of Bothnia. A comparatively small stretch faces west into the portions of the North Sea around Denmark known as Skagerrak and Kattegat. In terms of land borders, Norway's dominates, stretching for most of the country's length along its western side. A smaller land border is with Finland in the northeast, while the far southwest faces Denmark along the Øresund Strait.
And they're all one big happy family, right?
That's why they're all positive. They're like, hey guys, take that cross, put it on all the flags, just show how happy we are with each other.
East, while the far southwest faces Denmark along the Øresund Strait. If we look at Sweden's climate zones and biomes, they roughly follow the lines of latitude, with the far northwest of the country experiencing a mix of alpine and arctic tundra, while subarctic boreal forest, or taiga, dominates the upper 2/3 of the country.
Okay, so I guess it's going to be...
Jesus.
Yeah, July is a pretty precipitation-heavy time, so...
But that's the warmest month.
Yeah, yes, it's a trade-off.
Just go there and don't freeze to death. You can do it in July.
Yeah.
You'll just be wet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as some places in Siberia and Russia.
No.
Like So we'll give them that.
Where that shit was like off the graph. Like their low part was not even graphable. And I'm like, what? Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
In these two northern zones, winters are severe, while summers are warm in the taiga but cool in the tundra. Further south, a sizable band of continental climate exists where winters are less severe and the summers are a little warmer.
Yeah.
Not braggable, but yeah.
Yeah, not braggable, but definitely a small, slim margin to go and visit.
Yeah, you're never going to get too hot right there. Ever.
Yeah. Maybe May, maybe September. That's kind of the range there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe June to August, more realistically.
That's probably realistic.
Yeah.
The natural biome of this band was mixed broadleaf and coniferous forests, but is today largely given over to agriculture. Unlike the rest of the country, the southernmost part is unshielded from moderating Atlantic westerly winds by the mountains bordering Norway, and so experiences an oceanic climate where winters are mild and summers warm.
That's what we're talking about here.
That's I would say normal.
Yeah, Malmo.
When I say normal, I'm like, that's probably that's colder than our norm.
Right.
A lot.
That's something that's like tolerable. Like you'll be guaranteed a white Christmas, and like the summers are not,
melt your face.
Yeah, they're not gonna burn you to a crisp. Yeah. In Malmo. Malmo. Yep. I don't know. Malmo. I can't remember. We did Eurovision with them. Like we should know it by now.
Yeah.
But
Malmo. That's Elmo's brother. Malmo. Yeah,
Malmo. Probably next door neighbors to Oscar the Grinch because he's
Oscar
Mal.
the Grinch. I love that. Not the Grouch, but Oscar the Grinch. We're just mixing all the references here. I love that.
I said
Oscar the Grinch. I was like,
I'm done, y'all. I'm done.
It's like negative, bro.
I'm done.
Like, I'm not gonna let you walk away from that one, man. But you know what though? They were both green then. They were both green.
Oh god.
Pretty similar though, bro. Pretty similar. Grinch and Grouch.
I'm gonna cut most of this out, but
that's fucking awesome.
I can't believe I said that.
It's all right, bro. You know what though? It wasn't that far of a stretch. It wasn't that far of a stretch. It's very, I feel like they're in the same species. For sure.
I'm starting to cry a bit.
The things Spencer has said, guys. Yeah, some of the stuff. Amazing.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
We are exhausted, guys.
Yeah, it's been a day for both of us.
Oh, man. Yes.
Oscar the Grouch.
The Grouch.
Okay. Right next to. Okay. So Malmo, Elmo's cousin, who lives next to Oscar the Grouch.
Yes, there it is.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes me want to go join Lance Armstrong on the moon.
Lance Armstrong on the moon. Man, he set records up there. Fucking.
Okay.
Oh, God. Right. Yep.
Okay. All right. Get it together, Spencer. Get it together.
We are back here.
Yeah, we're back.
Jesus.
Okay. Whew. Let's go in.
The natural biome here was temperate broadleaf forest, but like with the continental zone, agriculture dominates here today. Sweden has a population of over 10 million people today, ranked 89th in the world, with the vast majority of them living in the bottom third of the country. 1/3 of Swedes live in the three largest cities, the capital Stockholm, the main port and industrial centre of Gothenburg, and the southern city of Malmö, where a rail and road bridge tunnel connects the city with Denmark's capital Copenhagen.
Okay, first off, that's really cool that it's connected to Copenhagen. And yes, we got it right. Malmö. Almo. Got it.
Done.
Sweden's own capital, Stockholm, is about a third of the way up the Baltic coast and is notable for lying in an archipelago of thousands of islands. 85% of the population live in urban areas. The vast majority of the population are ethnic Swedes, with ethnic Finns making up the largest minority at just under 500,000. The indigenous reindeer-herding Sami people of the north are a recognized minority also. In the last decade, a large number of immigrants from the Middle East were granted asylum and now comprise almost 1/3
Wow.
The Swedish language belongs to the North Germanic branch of Indo-European languages that includes Norwegian, Danish, Icelandic, and Faroese. Swedes, Norwegians, and Danes can understand each other's written languages relatively easily, and by and large the spoken languages also, but in the latter case this may depend upon the dialect spoken, which varies considerably from the south in Scania to the main population areas around Stockholm. And yes, it is true, most Swedes are blondes, and with neighbouring Finland, Sweden has the highest proportion of people with light hair in the world. Considering how successful Sweden is in its economic and global influence, as we'll see shortly, well, I think we should start questioning the accuracy of those jokes about blondes. Sweden's flag...
I was wondering where he was going to go with that. I was like, oh, it's a very smart dumb blonde joke.
Dumb blonde joke, but apparently not with Sweden.
Yep.
Yeah.
We should start questioning the accuracy of those jokes about blondes. Sweden's flag is one of the most recognizable in the world, having an offset cross which represents Christianity in common with all Nordic countries, and in the colors of light blue and gold. These colors have been associated with the country since medieval times and also dominate the coat of arms. The three crowns are the symbol most commonly associated with the Swedish state, appearing on government stationery, buildings, and in military insignia. Sweden did not join the euro and so retained its currency of the krona, a word in common with the Danish and Norwegian currencies, which simply means crown. It dates back to an earlier monetary union with Denmark and Norway that ended in 1914. Sweden's
Okay, so it has the conversion rate of 9 krona per US dollar, and that's July 2020.
That's pretty strong, bro.
Yeah. Well, let me see where it is now. Let me see. First, I'm going to see if my money app has a conversion there. Let's see.
SEK to USD.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking up to see if it has that. It does have that. Okay, so I can get current rates as of August 2024. Let's see. One of those equals 10.23 krona. So all this of our Swedes in the comments, please let us know, what can you buy with 10.23 Swedish krona?
I would love to know that.
Yeah,
I would love to know that. From our just globetrotting within our channel alone, we know that up there is pretty costly. So yeah. I would be shocked if anything costs $1.
Yeah. Probably like a piece of candy or something.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. or a toothpick.
Yeah.
A monetary union with Denmark and Norway that ended in 1914. Sweden's economy is the 16th largest in the world by GDP, and its highly diversified nature is fairly typical of the developed world. It is export-oriented in the same way that Germany, Japan, and South Korea are, with a strong manufacturing sector, but differs in that it also has sizable exports derived from locally sourced primary industries such as mining, fishing, and wood. It is home to many world-famous brands with global reach, including IKEA, Volvo, Spotify, H&M, Ericsson, Saab, Scania, and Sandvik, and in general its economy is dominated by privately owned larger corporations, although in recent decades many innovative startups have arisen here. It ranked as #1 best place in the world for doing business by Forbes magazine in 2017. Like all Scandinavian countries, Sweden has embraced the Nordic model of a large welfare state, which admittedly comes at the price of high taxation. The total amount of taxes paid by an average income worker, whether through income tax, sales tax, or otherwise, is about 50%, and ranks 9th highest in the world. In the past, this has been much higher, but with a struggling economy in the 1980s, reforms were introduced in 1990 that eased the overall tax burden. Personal freedom and liberalism are and always have been the hallmark of Swedish culture. Unlike almost all other European nations during the medieval period, Sweden never adopted the feudal system, which otherwise condemned the peasantry to a life only one step above slavery, and so private ownership of land and property by the majority has always existed. In the present day, this approach toward liberty is expressed in many ways, from the rise of the Pirate Party, which advocates less restrictive copyright laws, early relaxation of laws concerning sexually explicit material, to one of only a handful of countries that did not impose a lockdown or quarantine during the coronavirus outbreak of 2020. In the 2019 edition of the Human Freedom Index by the Cato Institute, Sweden ranked as number 1 in the world for personal freedom.
Wow.
Sweden's influence around the world is not just through its well-known corporations. Culturally, Sweden has produced many influencers in art, science, and music throughout its history. The botanist Carl Linnaeus developed the system of plant and animal species categorization that is used globally today. Alfred Nobel, the chemist who invented modern explosives, saw an early obituary of himself that was critical of him profiting from his discovery being used in warfare, and so feeling guilt, used the proceeds of his fortunes after his death to benefit future generations through the foundation of the Nobel Prize system. In more recent times, the Swedish pop group ABBA took the world by storm in the 1970s and are second only to the Beatles in terms of global album sales by a musical group. Sweden's global reach overall is really rather astonishing considering its relatively tiny population compared to giants such as the United States or China. So if we should look to somewhere for inspiration on how to improve our own systems or enrich our own lives, then perhaps the first stop should be that tall country in the heart of Scandinavia. And that's Sweden. I hope you enjoyed this whirlwind tour.
Wow, that's a very short and very informative crash course.
He must have been on a time crunch, because usually his videos, well, never mind. We're coming off the end of the Russia video, which was huge.
Yeah. And right now we did a movie in our Patreon community, so we're not complaining that something is very long, or very short here, I should say.
It's, you know what though, this is a good crash course. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good crash course. He does a phenomenal job kind of bundling it up. You know, let us know in the comments if there's anything else like this that perhaps goes into depth on some other stuff that he touched on.
Yeah. I mean, things like, you know, the high taxation, the high personal freedoms, those are quite large. But I mean, we've done other videos of like why Sweden is so happy, and then again, like also we've said, repeating a lot helps us absorb the information. If there's more vids out there, let us know.
Please do, guys.
Yep.